my guest is Kelly Lapseritis. And I met Kelly at the, first of all, I had her and Kuani on the show to talk about the Sasquatch conference in Chihuahua. And then by the act of God, I was able to get there to the conference and I had a magical moment while I was there. And I'm still in touch with all the people that I met over there. It was a magical weekend. And today, Kelly and I are going to talk about something that's dear to both of us, but especially to Kelly. And we're going to talk about autism. But I want to first make clear that Kelly and I both agree that the word autism is kind of a medical terminology, and we think it's a lot more than that. So, Kelly, thank you for joining me today, and thank you that we get to just have a real honest conversation about this topic.
Yes. Well, thank you, Sheila. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to be able to express some of the things I've learned and to talk about this on a deeper spiritual level.
Right. Well, let's start from the beginning, because I know that before your little boy was even born, you had some insight that this was not going to be normal.
Yes. Yes. Well, even as I was a child, I didn't feel like I quite fit in. I didn't understand the world or people or what was expected of me, or, why people do the things they do, and different judgments and labels that people would put on things. I was completely confused about the human way of life.
Right.
And so I feel that, having that previous experience helps me to understand people that are labeled with autism or some kind of developmental disability, because their world is very much the same. They just have trouble relating and understanding the world around them, because they're living in a completely different world than what we're used to.
Right.
So, over time, I don't want to say I grew out of it. I was never diagnosed with autism or anything like that. I guess you would say, if anything, I'd be high functioning, or what they would call adaptive now. So, over time, I learned how to just kind of mimic behaviors and how to be social and things like that. But it's something that kind of stayed with me until adulthood, and until I really started seeking out my spiritual mission in this world. Because even until I went through my spiritual enlightenment, I just felt very confused about things. And now I've learned to embrace that. And, I feel that I'm really able to help so many other people that are labeled with these kinds of differences and understanding, and I'm able to understand them. So, but yes, before my son was even born, I had a fear of, being a mother, a fear of that responsibility. And I just knew deep down that I was going to have a difficult child somehow. I didn't know how to explain it. I would have never even thought of a disability. I just thought that, his behavior, or his or her behavior, would be challenging, and I wasn't quite ready to deal with that. And as a matter of fact, I was also told that I couldn't become pregnant, that I wasn't supposed to have children. But by the time I started warming up to the idea of, I'm getting older, and I think, it's about time to have a child. I was married, and, my husband at the time seemed to want one as well. So we started thinking, okay, but it was still unplanned, and more or less, and something that I was really surprised and shocked about, because as far as I knew, I was still unable to conceive. I thought we'd have to go through, all these medical things in order to do that. But the instant that my son was born, or let me go back and say that while I was pregnant, is when I really started going through a spiritual enlightenment, without even really seeking so much myself. It's just my thoughts were changing. I started having these unbelievable dreams that were just so detailed, and things that were, out of this world, but they were really, yes, but they were so emotional to me, and I could just really remember every detail of it, like I had lived it, and I'd come out of the dream feeling just like that. So I knew, like, this is not a dream. This is something that I need to know. And I even felt then that my unborn child was communicating these things to me.
Kelly, had you had lots of contact with spirit or with entities prior to your pregnancy?
Not at that time in my life. I had when I was a child. And it's something that I expressed to some friends and family. And I'd say maybe it was around age 6 or so that I kind of shut that down. It's like flipping a switch, because people didn't understand me. They didn't believe me. And so I came to realize that I'm different, I'm strange, and I'm going to change that. And so, like I said, I basically put a block in place, or flipped the switch, and said, no, I'm going to try my best to lead a normal life.
Yeah.
And then it was, like I said, during my pregnancy that things started changing again. I started having those thoughts and feelings from when I was a child, just seeing wondrous things, and, having some visitations that, I was trying to put into perspective, and things like that. But I just knew that my pregnancy and my child was something divine, something that was just really pre-planned in the cosmos somehow.
Right. And we both agree that this was a contract that you both had prior to birth, and those kind of contracts do not get broken.
That's right. That's right. No matter what the circumstances are, it was going to happen, right? And I knew that this lifetime was really significant too, because even though I now have the awareness that my son and I have incarnated before in many different realities, I knew that this lifetime was important for both of us, that, it was going to bring about some kind of significant change and shift in our path.
Right.
And so, like I was saying, though, the instant that he was born, when he popped out and I saw his face for the first time, my reaction was, oh my goodness, it's you. I just knew him instantly. I knew his face, and I could just remember him, his whole essence and aura. I could feel his energy. Not to mention that he looked familiar too, but I just instantly knew that I knew him, and it was joyous.
Wow. And Kelly, let's talk about did you have your baby inoculated? Did you have the vaccines?
I did. I felt very pressured to do so. I had done some research into it during pregnancy, and I had decided that I was not going to vaccinate him. And so that's a decision that me and his father both agreed upon. But when it came time to him being born, the hospital and the doctors and all of them really put a lot of pressure on it, telling me that it was mandatory. And I said, well, I don't think it is mandatory. Oh, well, it's going to be if you want your child to go to school, or if you want your child to get any kind of health care, be seen by a doctor, you're going to have to vaccinate them and all this stuff. And so I was like, well, I don't feel it's good, but, and they also kind of do that during a time when your senses aren't all there. And so, yes, he did get vaccinated. There at the time, and then within his first year. And I did notice, we all noticed a significant change in him, especially around 1 year old. I think it was during his 1 year shots. By the time he was 15 months, there was no doubt that there was something not right, because he had lost so many of his skills. He used to be what you would consider more of a normal baby, having normal um, stepping stones and, all of that. And he was starting to speak and, different things like that. He had quite a few words in his vocabulary. And at one point, he just literally, he woke up one morning, lost his speech, that glazed look in his eye. He wouldn't try to communicate or look you in the eye, and just little things would upset him. Sunlight, he would just scream his head off like it was hurting him, different things like that. So I was like, this is not normal. This, even if he had some kind of bug or virus or something, it wouldn't result in this.
Right.
And so I did some research into autism. I felt that was divinely brought upon me too, because I didn't know anything about autism. I didn't even really know the term. And for some reason, I decided to Google the word autism. And when I did, wow, I was like, okay, I'm just sitting here, check mark, check mark, check mark. He meets every single one of these symptoms. And one of the biggest ones is losing your speech. And that's just undeniable. It's easy to say that, oh, this behavior started, this time around here because of this, and maybe it's an emotional or development. No, you don't, have a full vocabulary and then completely lose it. And you could see his frustration as well in losing it. His lack of communication would just frustrate him even more.
Right. And that is like the foundation for
yes,
is the frustration of communication or
yes,
communication.
yeah. So in my son's case, I do feel that vaccinations were a huge contributing factor to, his diagnosis of autism. Although I don't think that that's the only thing that causes it. There's so many different things, so many environmental factors, social, emotional, and most of all, spiritual reasons as well. There's just a plethora of information and ideas and ways that it could come about. But vaccinations are one of those things that really trigger it, as well as different environmental factors like heavy metals or chemicals that might be in the air, the water, or even what's given to the mother during pregnancy. And it could even go back generations because things stay within your body. My spirit guides have explained to me also that whatever we take in that is not natural or would be considered a drug to our system, whatever kind of effects that it has, that it actually stays in your astral body. You continue to carry that through lifetime to lifetime, maybe not as extreme, but if you were a drug addict in one lifetime, you have a really good chance of being a drug addict in the next lifetime because it's already in your auric field, already in your astral body. And so some of these children, may have already had something, within their soul self to contribute to that. But I don't see it as necessarily something negative. It's difficult for them to deal with life in this world. But I think that that's part of the challenge and part of the lesson and part of the reason that they're here is to overcome that and to teach us, the ones who are neurotypical, of a different way of being, a different way of thinking, and a different way of responding and reacting to the environment around us.
Right.
They're very, very emotional people. And I mean, humans are emotional as well, but we kind of twist it and turn it into our own personal problem. Whereas I've noticed a lot of people with autism or some kind of developmental disability is really able to see the whole bigger picture. They're so sensitive to animals and people across the world. And, when I was a kid, nobody talked about or cared about third world countries and people that were starving and stuff like that. And here, nowadays you see all these children wanting to help people they've never met, or animals, or encouraging them to get along and to love one another. And so they're really bright, beautiful souls that just really want to work with humanity in the best way that they can. But unfortunately, so many of them communicate so differently that humans aren't really willing to listen until they've been, forced into that kind of situation. I shouldn't say forced, but a lot of people are, as being a parent or caregiver or something. It's something you would have never dreamed of experiencing. But once you're in charge of caring for somebody like that, wow, it just really opened up a whole new world to me, a whole new way of thinking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, in these times where we're kind of leaving that 3D world, those old medical terminologies, those old, it's bad or it's wrong. I think it's really important that we start giving the perspective of the bright stars that they are, and what they are providing for us in ways of us learning to communicate, in ways of being completely unconditional.
Yes. Yes, and they're great interspecies communicators too, because even if they're not aware of it, they have all of these wonderful skills. Like most of them are able to, use telepathy with others that are willing to listen. And that doesn't just include people, that includes animals and everything, beings that aren't in this realm. And everything like that. And so it's really important, I think, to encourage these children and these people to use those spiritual tools, and to teach them how to use the special advanced technology that's within them, so that we can all evolve and advance.
Right.
Because so far us humans haven't been doing a very good job. And so now we have these new humans that are bright and brilliant and beautiful and from the stars, I think, to help teach us and to help us and hold our hand as we evolve to the next level.
Has Spirit given you some insight on what the future is going to be like for these kids?
A little bit. I mean, I've had flashes and kind of visions and things like that. And I don't know if it's an overall huge picture or if it's the involvement in my own life. But, I'm really very much into this and helping the children. And I feel that my spirit guides are really leading me in a direction to work with the children and to start up, programs for them where we're teaching different energetics and shamanics and how to connect with the earth and how to meditate and, how just to help yourself and to help other people and to be in service to others and teach these ancient ways. The Sasquatch teach a lot of that, but there's also star guides and everything. But we're very connected to the earth, and we need to find that balance once again. And these children are going to be able to help with that.
How ironic that it will be these children who will be learning meditation and grounding first, before our other children, before the system will change and the rest of the children can have meditation.
Right.
Grounding.
Exactly.
I mean, look how far we are from that at this point. I tried to teach my kids and my grandkids to breathe and meditate, but it's not in school yet.
Right.
And I think that is vital. And there is one thing that's probably going to happen because of kids like yours are going to create a foundation of that being normal.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And me and some parents here in the area, we've been talking about starting some kind of school or program for the kids, especially for the summer, because that's coming right up. And, you know, that's one of the challenges too, is that when these kids get out of their routine and their regular, you know, curriculum and whatever they're in, it's much more difficult for them to adapt. So that's one reason. You know, but it's also to teach these things so that we can all learn. I mean, if we teach, we're teaching each other, and we're all able to really learn how to connect.
Right.
There's a gentleman named Tyson. I'll have to get some information to you, but in British Columbia this summer, there's going to be a program from July 3rd till the 7th, I believe it is, or maybe the 10th, July 3rd through July 10th. And it's called the Rainbow Network. And they'll be having all kinds of course study groups for parents and for children to, you know, teach them a lot of these. I forget it. I don't want to misquote or misuse his words, but basically, it's wonderful metaphysical practices, and you know, just like what I'm discussing here. And they have training for the parents, and then courses for the children as well. But so I would love to attend that, but I really envision something similar to that being located in hopefully every state, so that everybody has an opportunity to attend something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Once you get it rolling,
Right.
it can domino throughout. And
Exactly.
working is so vital, I believe, in especially in all the efforts you're taking. But you do have a wonderful network of people who are helping you out.
Oh, yes. Yes, I certainly do. I'm very blessed. Very blessed. We've connected with so many people, you know, well, just through Kiwani's Sasquatch research, you know, I've connected with a lot of people on Facebook that way. And now with this conference that we held last year, meeting several people that way. But this community right here in Northeast Washington is also just wonderful. It's no coincidence that we're located here, and that I'm meeting so many parents and caregivers and people who are really interested and accommodating to this, and have different skills and you know, the resources that we need to make something like this happen. So it's very exciting.
Now, when somebody has a child and they're realizing there's some issues there, are they automatically kind of thrown into the system and into networks and programs, or is this something that you're reaching out the other way to?
Yes, unfortunately it's a lot of work. From my experience, it's a lot of work for the parent.
Yeah.
You know, you have to approach the doctor or whoever it is to say, hey, I suspect there's something wrong here. Let's find out. So that's what I did. They did ask me some questions at the doctor's office, and based off of how many yeses and nos, they're able to, you know, give a referral. And so enough of the answers were yes. And so they determined, okay, your son must have a developmental delay. So you follow up with these people. Now, this all happened in Arkansas. And so each state kind of has a different process. So then they did further testing to determine what kind of therapies would be beneficial for him. And then it was another year before I actually got a diagnosis for him. But thankfully, we got him into those therapies early on, so that he was, you know, able to get help with all of that. But sometimes it really is like pulling teeth just to get a diagnosis. And not that a diagnosis or a label is that important, but when you're able to get assistance to help with that, it really is. I felt really blessed to get that diagnosis for him, because then it opened up all these different opportunities of, okay, you can have this therapy, you can have these supplies, you can have this caregiver, and he qualifies for this and that, and which is important for his special needs, because he can't go through school like a typical child. He needs different accommodations. So I would just encourage parents to try to get a diagnosis as early as possible, just so that you can have that assistance. And then once you can kind of branch out from there, and you don't necessarily have to follow the state educational system, or even put your child in public school if you don't want to. But of course, there's different areas of the country that have a lot better learning centers and things than other. But I would just encourage you to find whatever you can in your area. And if there isn't much, then start something up. That's what I'm trying to do here. So,
there you go.
yes.
And Kelly, what do you think about how did you manage nutrition? How is the whole food thing going with you?
It's not going.
Yeah.
Yes, well, no. With my son, and like most children with that diagnosis, they're very picky eaters. I can't get him to eat anything healthy, hardly at all. The only thing I could get him to eat at one time was strawberries, and it turns out that he was allergic to them, the citric acid in them. So I had to cut off his favorite, healthiest food. But what I do is I supplement with different things, herbs or vitamins and minerals. There's a lot of products that are out nowadays that are targeted towards kids on the spectrum. They have a lot of trace minerals and different vitamins that children are lacking. And there's getting an additional omega-3s in them is important. And another factor that a lot of children with autism have, almost all of them actually, is that they have gut problems, digestion problems, or bacterial microbe problems in their gut. And so they need additional flora and bacteria in that direction. And so I give my son different probiotics and acidophilus and things like that have a lot of strains to help make up for that, as well as fermented greens, and just anything that I feel is going to be really beneficial for his health and growth and development. I've noticed that some things might even make him hyper that you wouldn't expect him to. So you just learn to avoid that, or what time of days to give it to him, and things like that. But another really great product that we've been using for a few years for him is a liquid mineral zeolite. And I give him that to pull the heavy metals and toxins and all of that out of the brain and body. Because the vaccinations, for one thing, but there's so many different environmental factors, but everybody is constantly exposed to things that we don't need. So we do the zeolite too, Kiwoni and I do as well. But I really noticed that once I started giving that to Jeremy, that he had a lot more clarity, after a couple weeks or so, once it had time to, really start to get out of his system. And you could just really see his brain opening up, and he started making eye contact again and started to try to communicate a little bit more, and was just more open and willing to learn, because he didn't have this horrible brain fog like he had before. So we still, continue to do that, because the exposure to toxins is not going to end.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And what about discipline?
Oh, yeah, that's the fun part. That's a challenge, and it's something that we're still kind of, learning and working through. He has different behavioral issues that come up. Although I have to say that it is 100% better than it used to be. And I really feel that, just the therapies that he gets, the more he interacts with people, the more he learns, that changes as he grows. But there's, different methods that we have to try. It's trial and error. Sometimes you have to ignore the bad behaviors. Sometimes the behavior is, really acting out to get attention for this and that. And in which case they do need some kind of special attention. So you have to find that. Sometimes it's just a lot of times it's frustration. Because they're so sensitive and so highly emotional. My son is sensitive to other people's energies. So even if there's absolutely nothing wrong with him in his world, if a kid next to him is in a really bad mood because of this or that, he absorbs that, and he can, get onto that too. So there's different techniques that work with different people. A lot of them like to be restrained or constrained. They want some kind of weight on them, or they want some kind of tight clothing so that they feel more inside of themselves. Or, as we know, a lot of kids flap or spin or do different things like that. And they're all coping mechanisms. Society might see it as strange, or some of them even say, oh, you shouldn't do that because it's weird behavior and things like that. But oh my goodness, no, that's what those kids really need to be able to cope with whatever they're dealing with. And I find a lot of times too that what my son needs is just time alone. Sometimes he's just he's just too overstimulated with whatever it is, that he just needs to be by himself with some toys, or whatever it is, and he's able to calm himself down. So
do you respond to nature?
Oh yes, very well. That's one of the best things to do, is for us to go out in nature, and he calms right down. Especially now that the weather's nice. He has a hyper day. It's like, okay, let's go outside. And even if he doesn't run around and play, sometimes he just lays down on a blanket in the grass outside, and he'll just play there for hours and hours, because he's got the sunshine and the birds around. What more do you need?
Well, I know you guys have jumped a big hurdle when he got a best friend.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yes, it is. It is. And it's something that I didn't ever expect, really. With the way that his personality is, he bonds with different adults. He bonds with parents, close caregivers, teachers, people that care for him. So he bonds like that, but never with a child. Not anything more than just playing or exchanging toys and that kind of thing. But I feel that my son and his best friend, whose name is Noah, I feel that they were already connected. It was really just such a divine way that we found each other. I once again just have no idea what influenced it, but I got on Facebook and I decided to type in the word willow. I had no idea what that might mean. So I type in willow, and the first hit that I get is a woman in the area. We had a couple mutual friends, and I saw her picture, and I said, oh, there she is. And I sent a friend request, and then I was thinking, what does that mean? Like, there she is. Who is she? And why am I was like, this woman's going to think I'm a stalker. Weird. But she accepted my friend request. And we didn't talk for maybe a couple of weeks, just kind of followed each other, checked out each other's pictures or whatever. And I discovered that she had a little boy right around Jeremy's age. And so she's very spiritual and metaphysical herself, which of course I didn't know at the time. But she approached me and said, hey, I've been following your stuff, and I'd like to learn more. And we got together at a healing gathering of a mutual friend. And so that's the first time that the boys met. This was just last summer, I guess last June. And so that's the first time that the boys met, and instantly their eyes met and they were just like, let's go play. And within an hour they were calling each other brothers and, you know, all kinds of stuff. But one of the biggest things is that with my son, Jeremy, anyway, he had to constantly be watched like a hawk. He was always seeking out dangerous situations, you know, just doing very dangerous things, jumping or leaping, or didn't seem to have any awareness of danger, cars or edges or running into the water or, you know, electricity, whatever it might be. He just didn't acknowledge anything that could be dangerous like that. But immediately these boys were great. I could trust them. They were running around, staying in the area, just playing with each other. And I didn't feel this fear of, oh, where's Jeremy? What's he up to? Is he bothering somebody? Or is he going to kill himself or choke on something? You know, that kind of thing. And I didn't have to worry about it because they watched each other and they influenced each other in the most positive ways. And so, you know, now they still get together and play. And, you know, we've learned a much deeper connection between myself and his mother, Willow, as well. So it's not just the kids' friendship, but we're finding more soul family. And I totally feel that these boys were already connected on a soul level and that they influenced this. They put their energy into it. And somehow one of them made me say, hey, type in the word Willow and let's start life.
Yeah. You know, sometimes best friends can be even more beneficial than a parent.
Yes.
And how mature of him actually to be able to connect with his best friend at this early age on top of everything else.
It is. And it's so amazing to see them together. They his friend Noah, I'm not sure that he has an official diagnosis, but he would be considered on the spectrum. They're very much alike. But Jeremy just comes back speaking so much clearer, giving me new ideas and just new experiences every time that he hangs out with Noah. And they have a telepathic communication between them too. I've seen them play many different times where they're communicating, but they're not communicating. They're not saying a thing to each other, but they have to be communicating in order to know what the other one is doing. Yes. And I'm sure you've probably heard, you know, a lot of kids that are on the spectrum have their own language. It's kind of this little with their tongue kind of language. Yes. And Jeremy did that for years. He still does occasionally, but now his speech is really developing very well. But when he gets excited, or sometimes when he's just in this zone, this other world, he'll talk like that. But I've heard him and Noah communicate back and forth like that. And it's just like, wow, that's amazing. It's like, I wish I could be a part of you guys' conversation, you know? So
yeah, that's great. Okay, let's talk about the network that you've got going.
Okay. Well, it's really starting to take off now. I started a group on Facebook called the Tri-County Autism Support and Advocacy Group. Tri-County is here in the Northeast Washington area, but really it's welcome to anybody, and anybody can join it. And it's not so spiritually targeted, because it's more like local resources here within the state. But I do share a lot of information on my personal page, Kelly Lapseritis, and then also my public page, which is Kelly Lapseritis Healer and Counselor. So I have written a few different notes about this, you know, the natural methods that I've used to help heal some of the symptoms, as well as some of the star messages that I've received as to the higher reasons or higher causes for autism, which isn't just medical information. And so you can find me on Facebook, Kelly Lapseritis, that way, or like I said, my Tri-County group is welcome for anybody to join. And I believe I'm going to start up a new page, or maybe use somebody else's. I haven't quite decided yet, but to focus more on the spiritual aspects of these star children. I will be starting something because I think it really needs its own dedication. It's a topic that's just, really growing, and people are really understanding this a lot more. People are a lot more open to the spiritual side of this. So I'll keep you posted, but I'll be starting a page or a program or something about the spiritual aspects.
So at least people have some place to dive into.
Yes.
And begin opening up to those higher ideals.
And if there's anybody listening that's in this area, I'm in Chewelah, but anybody that's able to travel, to make it, we are going to be doing something this summer, kind of a summer program for the kids. Right now, it would just be like a small group of a few kids that we consider, or, that have been labeled autistic, but so that we could teach them different natural things. Go outside and play and talk to the animals and meditate and teach different, metaphysical things. So we are going to be having an unofficial little summer program like that. So anybody can contact me if they want more information on that too.
All right. I'm going to put your contact information on our video.
Okay.
I would say that anybody who has any questions can call you and or contact you, because you do have lots of information and can guide them one way or another.
Yes.
All right. Well, Kelly, thank you so much. I think we got some good information in on this, and a year from now, I want to do another interview, and we'll compare notes and see, because that a year from now, everything's going to be different.
I know it.
Including you and I. All right. Well, peeps, I hope you have enjoyed this. She's got so much information and so much insight, and most of all, for me to be able to talk freely of the spiritual side of this, I think is so important. And I'm so proud that you are taking the steps and the effort and time to organize this and network these people together. It's just beautiful. So thank you very much. Thank you for all of the world, because what you do for you and Jeremy, you are doing for all of us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me, and I'm very honored to be on your show and to have this outlet to share all of this. So I thank you.
Well, we will see you soon. Everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this. From my heart to yours, namaste.